Alright, so I did these videos together, and they're gonna be my to be read, which I already did, and now I have my to be written. So, my to be written is pretty simple, or to be done. So if you didn't watch the other video, I am done with my semester. I have to get my grades back. I'll do like a semester recap because I have a lot to talk about. But I have a semester recap coming up, and I might do that after this. I don't know. It's almost 4 o'clock in the morning. Kind of getting tired. So I might eat something in between videos. But this one is to be done over the winter break. I don't have that many goals as far as what I'm doing because I'll still be working on campus. I have like work study or whatever, and so I do that like it's kind of like a part-time job, right? So I'm still doing that. It's not that many hours per day, but it is like over the span of like half the week. So I do that, and then I come home and I have like a bunch of free time. So in my free time, I want to decompress like this first week, but after that, essentially from now until like the end of January, I'm on winter break from school. I'm still gonna be working, minus the gap that they have between the university closing and then like the new year, which is like a week and a half. So I still essentially have my like nearly like 2 months break. So with that, I want to do like a few things. One, already in the other video, read. This video, doing stuff. So what I want to do, host the 2 writing retreats. I'm aiming for 2, one in December, one in January. Setting up the back end of that so that I can have like the writing thing. And the writing retreat is virtual, it's not in person. To get it in person, it would be like a lot more to set up. So there's that. 2, it would be to write poetry, write my ekphrastic poetry, especially 2025. Start that. I have a new set of art pieces that I like bought, like the art calendar type thing where it's 365 and it's like 365 pieces of art, and it's on pages and it's front and back, and the whole year use it. And each day is like a different artist, and I want to do ekphrastic poetry. Last year, or this year rather, I had started it, and then like my grandmother passed, so then like I kind of just like got derailed, and I had a lot of art stuff that I wanted to do, art ekphrastic poetry that I wanted to do on my Instagram too, and that got like derailed because I'd started it for Black History Month in February. I was doing African American artists and wanting to do ekphrastic poetry for each like person each day, and like a prompt for people. But I mean, with my grandmother's death, I just kind of like gave up with that. So yeah, I want to kind of plan for that again, and hopefully nothing else like disrupts it, you know what I'm saying? Like hopefully everybody's like well, and like nothing goes like wrong with that. So like the writing retreat, and then like the online challenges that I was doing with like prompts on my Instagram specifically. I want to get back into my blackout poetry, even if I just do it for myself and not record it, because I used to record it and put it up here for you guys on the channel. I might not do that all the time, but getting back into the blackout poetry because I like that found poetry. I like trying to form something together like through this like poem and seeing how I can make it like different, you know what I'm saying? So, and I like blackout poetry a lot. I think it can be very impactful, and I think that even if you're using established like stories and poems and stuff like that, like you can still come up with something that's very rich, and just very revealing and intimate and like thought-provoking and poignant and all that kind of stuff. So personal kind of things, maybe less so for like Instagram and YouTube, would be like that. But the ekphrastic thing, it was also a personal challenge, but I had the challenges that I was doing, like the 31-day challenge or the 30-day challenge or whatever, that I was putting up on Instagram. So those are those things. Next would be chapbooks. So I was debating about this, and there was a video that I posted about, like, should I do a chapbook? So I decided I'm going to go forward with making a chapbook and applying to a chapbook contest. I think there may be like 3 that I'm trying to like aim for. One would be, or maybe 2 of them, I guess, would be like maybe this month, and then like 1 in like January, and then it might be a February one, so maybe like 4. But I'm not aiming to have chapbook contests where it's like 20 pages of poetry. I'm aiming for it to be like 8 to like 15. Because, you know, like a poem doesn't have to be like just 1 page each. So, you know, you have a little bit of wiggle room, but I don't want to push myself to have to produce so much. I don't want to have to produce so much. So like 3 is kind of doable for me, and I, you know, it may only be 1 once I like really sit down with myself and like think about what I can actually do and like the time. But I know 1 is like this month, definitely due this month, the end of this month. So I have to like be on that. What else? So those are that. Other than that, like different fellowships and opportunities, like for money and book opportunities, reviewer opportunities, reader opportunities, things like that. Things that like just look good on my resume, being exposed to like the publishing world in some capacity. I've kind of given up on trying to be a part of a major publisher. Like that doesn't seem like it's in the cards for me per se in terms of like actual jobs. What I do think I'm going to go for with is like applying for like summer fellowships. So I can travel and experience things and have different perspectives and, you know, be in classes and stuff like that. I'm considering a summer class. So there's that. Thursday's the motherfucker. Alright. I am. My mouth is dry as shit. It's cold as fuck. It's like, there's a lot going on outside. Weather-wise, it's just cold. My mouth is, my lips are cracked and dry and shit. It's a lot. Anyway, so that's that. The last thing that I really want to start working on is like the press that I want to make. What I aim to do, because I already started it, I did a video, around Juneteenth about 2 books that I got about African American like authors, poets, really just poets. No, I think one of them is writers in general, and then one is just like poetry. Even though they include people, I guess they've expanded the definition of African American, but to me, African American is just like the U.S. and the descendants of chattel slaves from what will be known as the U.S. of A. So I'm kind of like, so I have to do my own research to make sure. But I'm very like focused on African American history, literature, in particular, because one of the topics that I like to write about is about heritage and memory kind of tied together. And I like exploring African American history because I learned so much. And like, one of my like main pet peeves is like, in this like world and space of like everybody like we gotta be like come together and become one, I kind of just feel like it clouds, it really obstructs your ability to like focus on like specific niches. And I guess because I come from like history, and like in history people think that when you major in history, like you just major in it and then like you don't have any area of interest. But that's not how upper level like history, and especially when you get like a master's and a PhD, that's not how it works. You have to specialize. You can't just be like, I'm a historian of everything. No, that's not how that works. You choose like a field. You usually choose like a region of the world and a time period together. And as you like do your research, you get very, very niche down. That's why like if you go to professors, this is such a tangent, but if you go to professors like pages and what they write about, they usually are writing about roughly the same thing, but just different angles and maybe different time periods, and maybe like the center of perspective is like changing, right? Like if you are a historian that likes French history, but particularly from like the 1780s to like the 1820s, well, you probably are interested a little bit of Caribbean history, particularly like Haiti. You're probably interested in a little bit of U.S. history, particularly like Louisiana, Mississippi, like all of that. Maybe a little bit of Canadian history, but like you're still tied into that. And as you get deeper into your field, like you may start to branch out, but it's not like you learned about like European history, specifically France, and then you all of a sudden like transfer over to like Japanese, unless you're talking about the relationship between the two or something like that. Like it's like you pick a topic and you kind of go deeper and deeper within that topic, and that's why you talk to people and they're such like buffs about like this very particular thing. In academia tend to be like very deep into that, but it's like that's how you're able to focus. And so bringing it back to what I'm saying, I decided to focus on African American history. One, because it's my heritage. But two, I kind of just feel like when everyone tries to be like, we're all in this together, like you get obstructed and really blocked from like really learning particular stories that could be very impactful and like stories that people may not even know. Had I not focused so much on African American history, I wouldn't even have learned as much about like African American writers and movements and like people I had never heard of, like, right? Like we've heard of the like Sojourner Truths, we've heard of like the Martin Luther Kings, we've heard of, like we've heard of like these people, but like there's other people who are like poets and writers and playwrights and screenwriters and stuff like that, like that I had never heard of. And I just kind of feel like if I was chasing like this global perspective all the time, I would like lose that, and I wouldn't even know that these people existed. And I've learned some pretty interesting stuff about like where my own family is from, like geographical, like all that kind of stuff, but then just like exploring, right? I've also learned different parts in my studies. It was like kind of offshoots of the interests that I have of like African American diasporas that are happening and have happened, right? Like African Americans traveling to like Eastern Europe. That's like a whole thing that you can talk about. Some of them are associated with communism or were supposedly affiliated with it, and then others just kind of like left. I learned about diasporic communities of African Americans in like places like of Latin America. So like Mexico, Dominican Republic, I like had learned this from watching someone else. African American communities, I've learned about African American peoples who've gone to like Trinidad. Like had I not like focused, I wouldn't have uncovered any of these things. And I just personally feel like I want to like niche down. And so I don't know. I feel like I'm offering this answer up because I feel like at some point someone's gonna like question why I'm very into like just African American history and not really like other histories. It's like I have interest in those, but it's like as far as like what I want to elevate, that's where I'm aiming for. And as an African American, I just don't feel like I should have to like really make a case for that. So yeah. So back to what I really want to do with this. Starting a press that specifically centers African American. And what I mean by African American is the descendants of chattel slaves who were brought to what is now known as the United States of America, and the diasporas that have come out of that, right? So we have diasporas in going from Mexico on down, Canada on up, Europe on east, right? Like there's a lot to explore. So many languages, Gullah Geechee, I was talking to one of my professors recently. She mentioned Tidewater Creole, Afro-Indigenous like language learning. It's just so much. Like it can encompass so much. And I'm just like, I want to focus on that. I was a history major, so I want to focus on that kind of stuff. I'm very interested in that. So that's where I'm interested in going. Now, starting a press that specifically deals with African Americans, history, heritage, culture, literary kind of progression, and how like I see African Americans kind of going through their own like thing right now, like culturally, intraculturally, dealing with its changing image of what this term means and who's included in this term, but also like how we're perceiving ourselves, right? So that's very fascinating to me, and I would like to do work around that. The major project that I want to do is start making books based on it. So I did 2 book courses. One was making books through InDesign, like learning how to actually format a book, right? Making a cover. So making your cover, developing your front matter, making your interior spreads, being able to format it, choosing your typefaces, your spacing for the paragraphs, your like leading, your kerning, and all that kind of stuff, like your line length, all that kind of stuff. And making it a physical book. Like we literally like sent it off to Lulu as a press, and it got shipped to the teacher, and she's like looking over it, right? Wanting to do that for African American public domain works that perhaps I then make special collections of or something like that. I really want to showcase like these writers that I'm finding their like work, and I'm like, I think this is cool, and I wait for the public domain, because the public domain is like January 1st, 2025. I must see who's on there that is African American. And then what can I do with that? Like, can I make books and stuff like that? Like, just making materials to bring to the world. Like, this is a labor of love for me. So I want to get that underway. It's very close to my heart. It's very dear to my heart to explore what that means to be African American in the United States of America, and historically and all that kind of stuff. But these are the things that I am aiming to do on Winter Break. We'll see. So yeah, like that's it. This was longer than I expected, but then again, I like talked for like half of it about like offshoot tangents. So thank you for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.